up and
We're up
ready.
and
Yeah.
running.
Good. Oh, good. Good. Well, listen, we're going already in the green room.
We are.
Yeah.
We got our.
We got our back.
Wow.
We're
Green
ready.
Street.
This is really exciting. So listen,
Very exciting.
I'm running in because as my home has been. Listen, we don't get overly personal in the green
No,
room.
we try not to.
But my lovely wife Patty's stepfather passed away, as people in the office know, last Monday, and it kind of set off a crazy couple weeks. Actually, her mom is in the hospital at this point.
Oh, wow.
Maddie's 88. That's my wife's mom. She told us that actually she had been moved to the ICU this morning, but in fact, I believe it's isolation because she actually ended up having an abscess that had kind of gotten her sick at the same time as my father-in-law passed. So it's been kind of crazy. So the green room, I need even more therapy today.
Well, so
Yes,
do
it
I. I had a fun night last night. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you've had your whole thing going on with SWAT.
For those that don't know, make sure you don't have squatters if you ever buy a property because it's really difficult to get rid of a squatter.
The unique thing about the green room, just for those that have never watched before, we like to combine medicine and
In
politics
politics.
to kind of get a little common sense discussion, common
Yes.
sense therapy, because
Yeah,
I think most people know that Ruta ran for Democratic county commissioner a couple years ago. I consider myself to be an independent and kind of a logical thinker, although
So
I
we're
tend
in
to
the green
fall.
room.
We
For those
are.
that don't know, we have a green screen behind us.
We
We're
are.
green.
So we like to call it the green room, combination of medicine and politics. But that's one of the unique things that we found out when you purchased your property, that you have squatters and
We
they
have
actually have
squatter.
more rights in some ways than we do.
Okay, for anyone who's listening that's in the legislature, you need to change the law for squatters because if you buy an investment property and there's no tenants in there, but come to find out you have a squatter, the squatter has more rights than the owner, which I find unbelievable. And you talk to the sheriffs and the sheriffs are like, yeah, the law is terrible. Why nobody changes the law? I have no idea.
Let's give a big shout out to law enforcement
Oh my
this
God,
morning.
huge. Sarasota Sheriff's Department, Police Department, thank you guys so much. Honestly, they were so amazing.
And I think it's really a reasonable discussion because I think there's so much misinformation, misunderstanding about actually what defunding
Yes,
the
yeah.
police
No,
means.
not
And
defunding
to
the
me, what that
police.
term means is that strengthening the police departments by allowing the police officers to do what police officers
should
do. So this whole thing started when my mother-in-law, actually Maddie, was involved in an auto accident about 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And I get to the scene and she's fine. She's standing next to the car and the other person's there and the sheriff is there, two of them actually. And the scene had been secured and safe. And that's, I think, the role of the police officer in that, but not to take the entire report 2 hours later, which could be done by insurance company or another social service. Same thing with your issue, Ruta, with the homeless that were living in your squad.
Homeless. We need, instead of the police officers, I
Right.
had a team of like 10 sheriffs come to the house and here they are. It's like they're dealing with homelessness.
It's a homelessness problem, which is not
Yes, but
necessarily a arrest somebody and put them in jail for a
they
crime
need like
problem.
somebody, a social worker to come and assist with getting them
No doubt.
housing. They need to allocate funds and these policemen, they're doing, domestic violence. They're doing so many things.
My
like
point is, I saw that
counseling,
through my years in the emergency room,
yeah,
that a lot of the transport type of things and a lot of
they
the
do a lot
counseling of
things.
homelessness, mental
Yeah.
illness, of course,
Yeah. Oh my
right?
God,
So we've
well,
seen the
homeless
safety
stuff,
net.
well,
We've seen the safety net demolished over the years, and now it falls upon our wonderful police officers to do all this work that, quite frankly, is better done by social workers.
Yeah.
So I think, and believe me, our social workers have taken a massive hit. Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a logical
I think
discussion.
I think that as a society, we do. I think we have to look at the police forces all across the United States and say, like, really, let's let them be police officers. And really, we need to look at social services on a much bigger level because what the police officers are doing is truly social services. And it's not the role of law enforcement.
And listen,
And
you've
they
opened
go
the door.
above and beyond what they need to do.
Right, and that's opening the green door to the discussion about medical cannabis as well, because I think we have to look at 2020 society for what 2020 society actually is. And the same thing in medicine and being a police officer to a certain extent. The police officer has to fill so many roles, right, that he's almost lost his primary goal and emphasis, which is public safety, being a peace officer, of course, things of that nature. Same thing with being a physician. In 2020, I view my obligation, as you know, because we talk about it almost every day. The point is, we can't be stuck in 1980 in the medicine of 2020. And if I was a doctor back in 1895 coming out to the colonial farm with a horse and a buggy whip and all that black bag, I would pull a tincture of cannabis oil out of my black bag.
And I would be whittling wood.
Exactly, because we've had the discussion. But the point is, we need to look at 2020 in all ways. And listen, I had a long discussion with my son the other day. He's in Houston. And Houston's a little bit different than Florida in some ways, but not in other ways. But he's actually in a horrible place right now because of a lot of what's going on in his work environment. He manages retail office space, and of course is encountering many people that are losing their businesses and things of that nature. So he looks at things with somewhat of a different perspective. And I want to go right into what I think is the most important issue politically in the green room this morning is what's going on in Portland, now Chicago, okay, based upon civil unrest and protesting and things that have gone on for years, and the taking of a federal building or a sit-in or thing that's gone on forever.
It's part of our democracy.
It's a part of our democracy.
It's
so
what
my
makes us
son,
great.
God bless him, my son, he's safe in Houston with my 3 grandkids. Listen, he's also raising kids in this era, which gives him a different perspective as well. I think it is a different time.
We're living in a different time right now, and it's a very sad time.
So his point was, Dad, I've never seen in my 30 years what I'm seeing now, the violence in the cities. And I said, Josh, I'm 64. I lived through the Cleveland Huff riots. I saw the Detroit riots. I saw Rodney King in LA. I live with Black Panther movement and Huey Newton. I understand these things, and that's my 64-year experience, which is different than your 30-year-old experience. We cannot let federal troops or whoever they are, wherever they're from, get involved in our cities over simple political unrest.
It is unbelievable that the federal government is going to do that to its own citizens. We are heading in a really scary, bad direction, and it's gotta stop.
Because
and
those of us
in the green room, I don't care what political party, this is part of our Constitution. It's our right to demonstrate. It's our right to protest. And for the feds to come in and Portland, Oregon, I'm sorry, it is one of the most liberal cities in the United States. They're known to be liberal, and now you're doing a crackdown on them. You're just pissing people off.
Well, that's why I'm thinking of why Portland? Portland, because that's where you're going to incite those that will lay down in front of the tank on Tiananmen Square.
Peacefully. And they're peaceful people in Portland. If you go there, they're the most peaceful people. They like their green everything, and they're just a nice group of people, and it's a democratic society. Why can't we protest if we want to?
And listen, it's a different thing if your governor and your mayors will be asking for this assistance, right? And ostensibly we know that's not what's going on here. No. So to me, it's a critical time in America. It's a critical time in America. We all need to be vigilant, keeping our eyes open. Listen, when it comes to COVID-19, we're in a mess down here in Florida. And I don't know what the numbers tell us and what they don't. It's hard to trust the numbers. We know that the testing itself is somewhat unreliable, right? I don't know if anybody saw Representative Sherman Jones's example of how to do the appropriate nasal swab test.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant to look at.
No, it was very difficult to watch. But the point is, the tests need to be done properly. Some of the tests haven't been appropriately vetted. There's always a false negative rate, false positive rate anyway. But what I know that I do trust is my colleagues that are still working in the in-hospital environment that are telling me that this virus is different. There's more people infected. They're sicker. They stay sicker for longer. They have complications that we're just now learning about. And let me tell you something, everybody. That's one of the most important issues that to me has come to my brain over the past couple weeks, as we've been seeing the athletes trying to get back into their leagues and things of that nature. Why are some sitting out? We don't know yet what this virus is going to look like 2 years from now. We didn't know that there was going to be shingles from chickenpox when you were a child later. No. We didn't know that there would be chronic Epstein-Barr viral syndrome from simple cases of mononucleosis, right? So viruses are different. And this virus, remember, everybody is only 8 months old, right, to that extent. So we don't have the history behind this virus to know. And if you're an athlete, a professional athlete, and yes, maybe you do recover, but maybe you have a 10 or a 15% decrease in lung function. Maybe you have a vague peripheral neuropathy.
And the thing is, they said they don't know the side, they don't know the long-term effects either yet. So you don't know if it's damaged your liver, your lungs, something.
That's my
and
point.
It's very scary.
It is, and we're seeing this virus mutate, like most, if not all, RNA viruses. They're going to do this. They're going to be quick. They're going to be sometimes smarter than us. We may or may not ever get a vaccine for this strain or others that come later. And I say that I saw a very interesting graph last night. I wish that the entire country would have closed at once, because there's been, and there were 4 graphs of when you didn't close, and it just elongated the entire process.
That's all it did. And people who are saying, oh, it was bad for business, had we done it properly the first time and shut the whole country down like other countries in Europe did, that actually stopped the curve and leveled it, and now they're doing great, and we're still, like you said, we're all over the place, and California is a disaster, Florida is a disaster.
I think we've learned certain things.
We learned a lot.
Listen, and where's the wood? Oh, here. And remember, this is great wood. So listen, I want to give a big shout out to friend, veteran Jose Belen, right? Look at this, everybody. He makes these Freedom Flag Company, right? And listen, it's an unbelievable gift, right? But here's the point. Right now, as a country, okay, we need to unite and do this together. Even some of the places that did close down early, New York, interestingly so, hasn't seen that California spike yet. But we know certain things about this virus. It's bars, it's other places where people are congregating closely.
Yes.
Listen, we've been open in our clinic. Oh, that's what I was getting to the wood for. It's funny, my brain is kind of coming back this morning. I was going to knock on the wood, and I did. The point is, we've been open every day, and we've been smart about being open every day. We've socially distanced from day one. We've had our side entrance program from day one. Listen, if patients come to my front door of the office, we have a stop sign, we come out, we check the temp, we give everybody a mask. We do have patients that do not want to participate. They don't want their temp taken. They don't want to take the mask. You know what we do? I go out in the parking lot and I talk to my recertification patients that way, right? We have a bench out there. It's okay. I don't want to let their anxiety and their decision about that, how they're going to handle the virus process, get in the way of them keeping their cannabis recommendation, because they have anxiety too.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. And you don't want to increase that.
So just because their anxiety may be on another side of the political
we
fence
want
than mine. But my point is, we see it all. But knock on the wood, no one's been sick.
Thank God.
Right. And I think that's because we've been smart. You can't go to a bar. You can't go to a gathering at this point. To me, listen, churches and synagogues and listen, faith is important, but I think we've learned how to do those things virtually now. We need to continue to do that. I'm absolutely believing that we won't be able to have a high school football season this year. I just don't see that happening. The pro leagues right now, the NBA is in the bubble. They're in Orlando in the bubble. So far, all the players have still tested negative. Well, that's because they're in the bubble. So with this type of virus, with this type of spread, and listen, everybody, kids spread the virus.
Yeah,
They do.
They do.
So the reopening of schools once
Bring them up
again.
to their grandparents.
So I think we got to avoid a stop and start process, which is only
We
going
need
to
to
prolong
get it
this into
under
next year.
control.
We got to get it under control.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't have the answer financially, but I think what we're seeing in general is that most people have adapted. There are still those that are out of work, way too many. We need to know who those people are. We need to make sure that they have some protections right now. Maybe if they have a mortgage.
We need that stimulus package revamped. We need to have the banks take it easy on.
Well,
on
listen, if you have
mortgages,
a
wait
mortgage,
on
you could kick on 6 months of payments at the end of your 30-year mortgage at this point.
something. Work with it.
We
Be a
need
squatter.
logic.
Otherwise, you can
Be
be
a
a squatter and you can live
squatter.
for free on
45
something else.
days.
Yeah, for 45
For
days.
45
Hey,
days.
but you can bounce around.
Well, the crazy thing about it is that once again, getting back to our safety officers, they knew these squatters.
They did by first name, actually.
Well, no, it's one of my Dr. Perryisms. If you're known by first name basis only in your local ER or by the safety force, forces,
Yes.
it's never a good thing.
No, you don't want that.
So the point is, there is a persistent undercurrent of homelessness, of
There is, and we
economic,
need to
you know,
look at it and
non-opportunity.
address it,
You know,
yeah.
there's a safety net that's been demolished. And once again, getting back to, let's call it the
For
main
social
topic of
services.
today's green room, okay? It's not defunding police, it's redefining what they do and allowing them to do it better.
And allocating funds more to social programs that will alleviate the stress and burden off our police officers is what we
Indeed.
need. And I know we're wrapping up, we don't have a lot of time. Please, please, please get your mail-in ballots in. Take a look, vote for everybody. This is school board right now. This is, I know most people are like, oh, who cares about the school board or who cares about the sheriff's department? This is the election in August 18th. Those are addressing those local seats. Local seats have a lot of impact on our lives. Please, please get your.
I would
mail-in
say more
ballots in.
impact.
They do. They have a ton on your everyday life, your children's life, education. Please research who you're going to vote for. Get that ballot in to Ron Turner, who does an outstanding job at the supervisor of elections for Sarasota County. So please, please, please remember to vote.
And we need to have that discussion about how we can have a safe, secured election, right?
Yeah,
As we
that'll-
roll into
I
the
think
next
that'll be
100 years.
That'll be our next topic of, hopefully everyone will accept the results of the election.
Well, because that's the base,
Should
that's
they
the
not
base
go in their
stone,
favor?
that's the base stone of our democracy.
Yeah,
We have to be able to trust the voice of the people. Anyway, everybody, thanks for coming to the green
Thanks for
room
coming to
today.
the green room, and thanks to Don, who has set up an amazing studio for us here now. And we'll give you a tour later on. It's awesome. We have a really nice studio now. So hopefully you like the quality and then you'll love our show. Thanks.
All right. Beautiful.